Hello everyone, I'm bringing you the Mannequin of the Month for March 2026 today, and as is usual, the topic we're going to talk about was chosen via a poll over on Patreon. It's the corporal tier over there that gets to vote each month on what's going to be covered, and the topic selected for March was a Marine of 40 Commando serving in Sabah, northern Borneo in 1964 during the Indonesia Borneo Confrontation, which is quite an interesting conflict. Obviously stems from the formation of Malaysia and the sort of end of the British Empire in that region really, and then continued support to Malaysia on British forces through into the 1960s. So, as I say, quite interesting. I certainly find it to be so. Have a general interest in jungle warfare as well, which of course is what we're looking at here in terms of kit. So we'll get into what we're going to talk about here in terms of uniform and equipment and so forth, starting at the top as we normally do. So at the top here, we have the typical British jungle hat of the period. This is made in a green drill material. The basic design had been introduced towards the very tail end of the Second World War, obviously alongside the late war jungle equipment and so forth. So you have that there, this basic design continuing on into the 1960s. You have a stitched brim here, we have foliage loops around here, and as we'll see at the side, there are mesh ventilation eyelets on the side of the crown as well. The basic uniform consists of the 1950 pattern bush jacket and trousers. These are both in green in this instance. Of course, the suit was also made in khaki for use in dry, hot environments, in arid, hot environments. But this is a typical jungle uniform for both the British Army and the Royal Marines at the time. It was the 1950 pattern in green as we have it here. There were other patterns around at the time. There was a pattern of shirt that was in use at the time, and a slightly more up-to-date version of the bush jacket as well, which do show up from time to time. But by far and away the most common combination is generally the bush jacket and trousers from that uniform. Two breast pockets here, as you can see, with a double pleat down the front and scalloped pockets there. There are in fact hip pockets as well. This is designed as a bush jacket, but they were commonly worn tucked in, as we have here. There was an integral waist belt as part of the design, which was sometimes cut off to allow it to be worn in this way, and that's the case with this one. It's quite a heavily worn example, which I like from that perspective. It looks like it's seen some service, and the waist belt has been removed, which makes it much more comfortable to wear tucked in, as we have here, which was the common way that these were worn in the field. The trousers have a mat pocket down on the leg. There are rear pockets, which we'll see a little bit of as we move this round perhaps, and there are hip pockets as well. These fasten around the waist with a double buckle system, where there are two sort of built-in belts, one of which crosses through a slot on one side and the other one just wraps around. Buckles on the hips, which allows these to be adjusted in, something which has been covered on the channel in detail previously. We've looked at that particular design and the various trousers which were made with this design. The idea being, you lose weight on long-range jungle patrols, you can cinch the waist in evenly on both sides without the waistband sort of rucking up uncomfortably and leading to rubbing and the higher risk of jungle sores and that sort of thing. That's the idea anyway. In terms of the equipment carried, 40 Commando in particular, footage and photographs show that 1958 pattern equipment was used quite extensively, combined with elements of 1944 pattern, whereas certainly in the Army, 1944 pattern is more commonly seen in sort of not necessarily full sets, but certainly pouches and so forth carried on the belt. In this case, we do have 1958 pattern as we're looking at 40 Commando, and this is by far and away the most sort of common combination. We'll talk a little bit more about the backpack and how that varied and so forth in a minute, but certainly in terms of the belt kit, 1958 pattern was the most common, was the most commonly seen set of equipment in 40 Commando at the time. 1958 pattern waist belt here, of course, row of eyelets down the centre, which are the way this adjusts in on each side to change the size of the waist. And then we have two first issue 1958 pattern pouches, which would be common at this time alongside the second issue. And the third issue in 1964 not arrived on the scene yet. They arrived around 1965. So the first and second issue what would be seen at the time. Those were the ammunition pouches which were available on issue at the time. First pattern, of course, identified by this large stiffening piece in the side of the flap or the lid there, as you can see. We'll talk more about the equipment as we move this round, of course, but that's what we can see at the front. We'll start moving this round now and have a look at the right-hand side to start with. Looking at the right-hand side of the mannequin here, the first thing we'll look at is the side profile of the jungle hat, the two mesh eyelets in the crown there, something that's been covered on the channel in many mannequin videos previously, and specifically in a video looking at the development of these hats in detail. So just note those brief details there. You can see the crown with the stitching and so forth there as well. The shoulder of the bush jacket, we have the epaulette there, a little bit of a droop to this because I've shaved the mannequin down to fit smaller uniforms, so it does allow for the trousers to be fitted, but obviously normally the shoulder would be up here, you wouldn't see that quite as clearly, but you can see the epaulette with the button there. Sleeves worn rolled up, which was typical at the time, you do see that. You also see on the back here the side profile of the rucksack which is carried. This is a Second War era Bergen rucksack, late Second War era Bergen rucksack in the green canvas with the tan sort of trim, the tan edging tape and tan straps. At this time you do also see the later examples of these made in all green, used in the jungle as well, but this is a Second War example. We'll talk a little bit more about that when we look at the back of the mannequin. And another detail you can see around on the webbing here is the 1944 pattern water bottle in carrier, carried on the belt here. This has actually been modified in that the carrier has had the hanger hooks removed to make it more comfortable to carry on the belt loop, which is really the best way to carry it with the 1958 pattern equipment. So it's quite useful that it's been modified in that regard, and it hangs just low enough so as to not interfere with the frame on the rucksack there, as you can see. That's the right hand side of the mannequin. We'll move this round now and have a look at the back. Looking at the back of the mannequin here, we have, as I said earlier, the late Second War Bergen rucksack, green with tan trim and tam straps and so forth, as you can see. These were of course in marine stocks and were clearly issued out. There are plenty of photographs showing these in use, but they weren't the exclusive load carrying equipment carried on the back. 1944 pattern haversacks were extensively used as well, and even the 1958 pattern pack shows up in footage and photographs as well. So it varied from man to man, and it would vary from man to man within a patrol. You can imagine the kit you're carrying on a back in a 1944 pattern haversack. If you're doing a four-day patrol, for example, that would end up very heavily packed out. And in that regard, this is an improvement, and it's got a much greater carrying capacity. It's arguable whether it's more comfortable to carry, but it does have a much greater carrying capacity. So carrying a similar load, this ends up not actually being carried full, which is what we have here. It's not packed right out, as you can see. One thing I would note that is carried in here is a further water bottle. So you have two on the belt, one carried in the pack. Generally 3 water bottles were carried. You'd also carry rations in here, depending on the length of the patrol, sleeping gear, which is generally dry clothing to put on at night, and hockey boots, and then obviously your poncho. So travel light, basically. So using a Bergen here, not to its full carrying capacity, basically, and that is why it's not entirely packed out. Straps have been sort of rolled up to keep them from flapping around and getting snagged. As you can see, the side straps have just been tucked away in the pouches. Well, that's what's carried on the back here, and that would carry the soldier's world on his back for the 4 days or whatever length of patrol it may be. Hopefully you can see the water bottles both carried round on the hips here. Hopefully that's not too obstructed by the pack, by the rucksack on the back. We'll move this round now and have a look at the left-hand side. Looking at the left-hand side here, you can see that other water bottle carried round on the belt here. There is actually another water bottle within this side pouch here. And as I say, there's plenty of carrying capacity in here for the kit that was carried at the time. Other men, as I say, made do with the 1944 pattern haversack. Obviously, this has much greater carrying capacity. So when carrying a similar load, you end up being able to fit things in here very easily. You don't really need to carry things on the outside of the rucksack in that instance. Other than that, around at the front here, if I can reach right the way around the rucksack here, you can see the side loops on the pouch here. This left-hand ammunition pouch, of course, designed to carry the bayonet. In this instance, a bayonet is not carried, but you do have those features on the side of the ammunition pouch there. Hopefully you can also see on the leg here, we have the map pocket down on the side of the leg there. I think the rear pockets on the trousers were completely obscured, but there are two rear flapped with flap buttoned rear pockets on the back of the hips, but not visible, I think, because of the rucksack. I certainly couldn't see them to talk about them. So that's just something to note here as well, the pockets on the trousers. I think that's pretty much it for the left-hand side. So hopefully you found it interesting looking at this. It's been nice to put this together. It's always nice to get the jungle kit on the mannequin from time to time. Obviously we had a look at something from 1962 and the Brunei rebellion, which sort of led into the Indonesia Borneo Confrontation during the 1960s. So we had a look at that relatively recently. So it's nice to sort of jump forward a couple of years and look at this kit here. And there's quite a lot of information available online. I'll post a comment down below Obviously Jungle Green, which is available on YouTube, which I'll put a card to in the video, is well worth a watch, and that shows men of 40 Commando operating in the jungle during the Indonesia Borneo Confrontation. And the link I'll put in down below is to an interesting web page regarding Royal Marines history, which actually has a section showing the deployment of 40 Commando in Borneo and when they were deployed and where they were deployed year on year. So I'll link that in a pinned comment down below for those who may be interested. As I say, it's an era I find particularly interesting, alongside the Malayan emergency. It's sort of one big story in a way, because of the creation of Malaysia basically prompting or stimulating the events which led up to the Borneo-Indonesia confrontation. But certainly it's an interesting period, in my opinion, that sort of withdrawal from empire, part of that whole story. Hopefully it's been interesting running through the kit on the Mannequin here. If you have found it interesting and you'd like to see more of this sort of thing, please do consider subscribing to the channel if you haven't already. And whether you're newly subscribing or you've previously subscribed, please do make sure you hit the little bell, the notification button down below, and that will of course alert you when I upload future videos. If you really like my uploads and you would like to support the channel, you can. Patreon and PayPal are linked down below. And a huge thank you as always to everybody who supports the channel using those two methods. It really is greatly appreciated. And of course, it's the Corporal tier over on Patreon, which allows you to vote each month on what's going to be covered in Mannequin of the Month. So check that out if you'd be interested. If you'd like to follow the channel on social media, you can. Facebook, Instagram and Twitter are all linked down below. And as always, there will be photographs of this posted up over there as well. And if you'd like to get in touch with me, but you don't really use social media, there is an email address in the description as well. That's a fairly reliable way of contacting me, provided emails don't end up in spam, which does seem to happen an annoying amount, so to an annoying degree. So I may look at setting up a different email inbox at some point. That might be a little bit difficult. We'd have to have a redirect on that. That's by the by. And that is also everything for this video. So until next time, bye for now.